All right, guys, welcome back to Relegation Battle. Obviously, there's one main topic on this week's episode. I think it was already going to be quite a long episode anyway before because we had to talk about, Champions League, Europa League, all three of our clubs getting to the semi-finals of their respective competitions. Pogba coming out of Mourinho sort of getting some back. He got sacked now as well, of course. But I think the one topic on everyone's mind is right now is the European Super League. Got the Liverpool game in the background, so it's going to keep an eye on that, see if anything happens in there. But Jay, let me come to you first because I think it's the first time you've come on here since you said Lampard's going to win the title with Chelsea. So, what's your initial thoughts on the European Super League?
I don't like it. I don't know why. I don't just understand it. I don't understand how. The whole concept of it, I don't mind, but the things that they're sacrificing for it, I don't understand. Like, to say that you might not be able to play in like the FA Cup, which has such rich history, and you're not going to go play in the Champions League, or you're not going to play in the Premier League, like you're sacrificing all this for something that's being proposed and it might not work. And it literally is just a thing for rich people to get more money, and it's the rich clubs that are going into it, and it's all the teams that have got money that go. There will never be like a Burnley or a Crystal Palace or anyone that go into it because the people that run it haven't got any interest in those teams, and it's just, I don't know, it's just stupid. It's going to ruin the whole fabric of football, I reckon. I just hope it just don't go ahead. I know that it's quite far already, but I'm just hoping it doesn't.
Yeah,
I just really don't like it.
Yeah, I think I speak for us there. But Ty, as a Chelsea fan, is it just disappointing just to see your club almost do that? Chelsea did so much good last year. This time, guys are helping the NHS out. Abramovich is doing a lot, but then to do this is sort of like a kick in the teeth almost.
Yeah, I mean, fuck the top six. It's so stupid. Like Jay said, just sacrificing everything, and it might not even work. It's like, so we're not. So, and apparently, obviously, we could get kicked out of the Champions League this season. So, if I'm Thomas Tuchel, I'm pissed off because obviously all that good work that he's done since he's come in could now just all get washed away. But yeah, it is literally just a money grab. But I'm not surprised that it's like the Glazers and Kroenke, they're like senior figures in it. I'm not surprised because it's like I think it's the American owners that wanted it the most. But yeah, I am disappointed. Obviously, like you said, everything we've done over the last year with the NHS and all that kind of stuff, it has pissed me off majorly. So I don't know. Obviously, there's a protest at Stamford Bridge tomorrow, which I don't think that's going to do anything. But it's a joke, and it's really pissed me off. The game's gone. The game's finished. It's all done.
Yeah, Jack. I know obviously always saying it. United fans haven't been one to not criticise the Glazers when it's been right, and I think every other fan can see why you guys have been doing it now. This all just proves the point you guys have been making. First of all, how disappointed with you to see United in there as well, but is there a way to still stop this, do you think? Or is it just too far in the process where the big teams know they can do it and they'll just have to deal with some of the criticism that comes their way?
Well, that's what they'll think they can do it. But, Bruno Fernandes, I know Herrera's come out, but he's obviously PSG aren't part of it. So Bruno Fernandes was the first player to come out involved in one of those clubs and say something. He was like, dreams can't be brought or something like that. So clearly shows that the fans aren't happy and showing, the players. And just like there was, so apparently Ed Woodward had an emergency meeting with the players today, and some of the players were just so frustrated, so annoyed at the fact they were even being in this conversation. So as a Man United fan, I mean, the club was built on workers building up the club. We were called Newton Town with like Newton workers building up the club, and it's just from go to the Bubsy Babes now to Sir Alex Ferguson, and now ever since the Glazers come in, we've just been a pile of shit. And I'm not surprised that we're top of the. I'm not surprised we're the one that started the conversation, not we're the driving force of this, because that's what owners are. They're greedy bastards. Money's everything to them. It's not football. All these. We can say, Roman Abramovich, the City, they buy players for football, but they're all businessmen. You know, all they care about is money in their back pocket. So I think it's a disgrace. And I think obviously Boris Johnson come out and said we'll work as hard as we can with the Premier League, UEFA to try and stop this from happening. But like you said, they're massive clubs. They're going to think they'll be able to do it. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just when the Liverpool Leeds game, it does seem like everything's been normal. You can't really tell if Leeds are a bit more up for it or not because just the style of play, so you can't really tell. But everything in the game seems to be going on normally, nothing happening there. Yeah, obviously Arsenal, I don't know how we've weaved our way into it. Probably just the American owner, Stan Kroenke, helping us. We know from his past that he's not one to be afraid of going for the money option rather than what the fans want. You know, he's done it a lot with the Denver Nuggets, of course, the NBA team. Their fans are not happy with him either. He's not their number one fan. I think he does a lot for the Rams, so maybe he just cares a bit more about that. He's taken out of our investments and put into them, or the money we've kind of put into them, which is obviously not good because you want it to be a sort of, what's the word? Sustainable sort of income at Arsenal. You want it to be a sustainable club that we earn our money and we put it back into the club rather than put it elsewhere in investments. But like you said, they are businessmen. So, I'm just going to go through everything that sort of happened yesterday, like in a timeline. And, if you guys want to jump in at any point, feel free. I'm just going to go through what happened yesterday. So, I think when I first sort of started hearing about it was during the Arsenal-Fulham game, which started at about 1:30. And during the game, it sort of came out that, these clubs are going to sort of announce something later on in the day about a Super League. It's a bit different to what was proposed a couple of months ago by Liverpool and United, I think, which I can't remember the name of it, but they wanted to reform the Premier League, make it 18 teams or whatnot. But this is a bit bigger than that. It's the whole of Europe sort of doing their thing. So it came out at 1:30-ish. And then I remember straight after the game, Arteta was asked about it. He said he didn't really know much about it. And when he does know, he'll say his opinion on it. And I think Klopp sort of backed up now as well. Before pre-game, he did say he only found about it last night. And he got told a minimal about it. And he had to tell his players about what happened as well. I don't think the owners even or chairman even told them anything. He said that he had to tell the players what he knew, which isn't even a lot. So then, we sort of just kept on gathering more and more information on it. We heard that the first thing we heard was if the clubs participate, they get 350 million just for that, and then another perhaps 233 for reforms. But the 350 was almost there just to make sure, if you participate, you get this. I'm not sure that's every year or just first year. Then we saw the clubs that were involved. So we got United, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, the top six in the Prem. Or not top six in the Prem, but they had that big six sort of name for them.
Mate.
Yeah.
Tottenham Hotspur. How have Spurs how have they got into this? Honestly.
Well, I think Daniel Levy's looked for an excuse over the years to try and get involved with the big boys, get involved with that money, and he's finally found a way in. So that's probably how. Then we saw Barca, Atletico, Real, Juventus, Inter, and AC Milan. If we go through these teams, just quickly, United and Arsenal in the Europa League. Spurs have been knocked out in the Europa League in round of 16. Man City, Champions League semi-final, Chelsea Champions League semi-final. Fair enough, they're doing well. Liverpool knocked down the quarters. Barca knocked down the round of 16, along with Atletico, Real Madrid still in it, fair enough. Juventus knocked down the round of 16. AC Milan have been knocked out by United in the Europa League. Inter Milan finished bottom of their group in the Champions League. They're not even in the Europa League. So let's just get that straight. I know they might win the title of Serie A this year, but they're not really doing well when it comes to competing with the big boys. So, these 12 clubs have sort of, maybe apart from Spurs, have been brought in on more, maybe Liverpool just as well, because more historical factors, because Arsenal United hasn't been doing well in a long time. Chelsea, fair enough, in the last 15, 20 years have been progressing. They're winning probably the most trophies in England, so fair enough. You can say they are part of the Super League, along with Man City, Liverpool, maybe in the last 3 years. So I guess you can say that, but these are not the 12 best currently in the world right now. I think that's definitely fair to say. Yeah. We're 9th in the Premier League, so we're barely top 12 in our own league. Then we got announcements that there was going to be something at 9:30. I'm not sure the time difference played a part in that, but there's a bit of delay, and then we got the official statements from the Super League. I'll quickly go through the main points, but it was there's new midweek competition that's going to be introduced. They want to start in August this year, gets done as soon as possible, or start as soon as possible. So the 12 clubs that I just mentioned there, along with 3 others, so to make 15. Still not sure what those 3 others are because, it's come out that Bayern have rejected it and Dortmund have rejected it. But some of us mentioned it earlier today, that's about the 50+1 rule that in Germany, the fans have 51% like ownership or decision making when it comes to that. So that's probably played a part in it. But also, I think they understand a bit more that how important the fans are and what this does for the game. How important fans are to like a club like Borussia Dortmund. So that probably did have a little impact on it. Leipzig, on the other hand, they said no as well. But when they say no, they came through. They basically bought their way into the Bundesliga. I think it's fair to say that they're there because of their partnership with Red Bull. They were formed about 5 years ago, but they were invited. Fair enough, they said no, but I wouldn't really call them one of the big 15 anyway. But yeah, so going forward, they said they want to get UEFA FIFA involved as well, which isn't a surprise. But their excuse was the current Champions League format wasn't getting them enough money, and they were saying that it's not a sustainable method of getting money into the club. I'm not sure if any of you guys watched it, but Steve Parish was on Monday Night Football before the game started, and I think he said that clubs earn a specific amount from the Champions League or from UEFA based on their history in the competition. I can't remember what the exact figure was, but he said so. A club like Barca, Real Madrid would get a certain amount just for almost re-qualifying because of the history in the competition. So they would get enough money from that more than someone, say, I don't know, Ludogorets if they somehow qualified, or say for West Ham qualified. West Ham wouldn't get that much because they haven't got this rich history in the Champions League. So they would get more money from that. And I think it's a bit of a cop-out as well because, it's almost like they're scared they won't make the Champions League or they won't get far in the Champions League. And that's why they're doing this. We haven't been in Champions League in 3 years, I want to say. Maybe 4. Probably 4. I think it is 4 because, Ty, relax with the laughter now. Like, come on now. It's a podcast. We know it's shit. Relax. But, we haven't been there in a while. So that's probably our excuse. United have been a bit in and out. Chelsea, fair enough, made a most season that are one-off, one of Mourinho, and then Liverpool, since Klopp has come in, has sort of started to be a bit more of a Champions League team, but before that, they weren't really in it. So I think that's just a part of it as well. And I think the whole plan being brought forward because of the pandemic as well. They were going to do it in a couple of years' time, but because of the COVID financial impact, they brought it a lot closer, which, again, I think in the teeth to the other clubs in the Premier League and lower leagues because they've been struggling a lot financially and it's going to hit them even harder. So, that shows a bit of their greediness as well. But yeah, so the competition format was 20 teams, 15, the 15 main ones, and then 5 will, come through based on their domestic performances. Whereas right now it's all based on domestic performances, which is, in my opinion, a lot more fair because that is how it should be decided. Then, it starts in August. They want to launch a women's one as well, but I feel like the women's game is already growing a lot in the last few years. We saw Sky Sports now bought the rights to the Women's Super League in England. The game is growing there. You're getting a lot more recognition. Maybe this will speed up a lot more, but I feel like the women's game had 2 lines in their little statement. I feel like that's just an excuse. We're doing it for women's as well. Sort of get them a bit more credibility. I don't think they care about it that much, to be honest, if there's only 2 lines in that 3-page statement or whatever. But, they just said, greater economic growth. That was the main line in it. And the founding club will receive an amount of 3.5 billion solely to support the infrastructure investment plans and to help with the COVID pandemic. I mean, 3.5 billion, I think if you said that to the Glazers, the Conkeys alone, then that will just get them involved because we know how much that money means to them. I think, there's just a bit of stuff from Florentino Perez, the Real Madrid chairman, who's the main guy in this now. I think it was Joe Glazer and Andrea Agnelli, the Juve one, who used to be quite up in UEFA. So that was what came out last night around, I think it was 11:30-ish. It was quite late at night, So that sort of started all the rumours going around, and that's the problem. Because it was so big, if one person said something random, a lot of people were going with it, even though it was just a rumour, a lot of it was false. luckily we have Fabrizio Romano, who pretty much just confirmed or denied everything for us. But so the main things coming out yesterday, Champions League, Europa League suspended or teams were kicked out. Nothing's been decided yet. I think that's important to say. They're deciding over the next few days what to do. But right now, the talks are that the teams currently in it would be almost just disqualified or just kicked out. So I don't know what that means, saying the Champions League that PSG would automatically win, or whether they bring the teams that got knocked out back. But of course, you have to go quite far for that because a lot of the teams in the later stages are involved in this. Then, so we also saw today
that players as well.
Pardon?
I said they're banning of players like the Euros and stuff as well.
Yeah, so
you got people like Foden and stuff who plays for Man City, who's more likely going to be picked to go to the Euros, might not be allowed to, and I just think it's just going to ruin young players' careers. People like Havertz as well, who's got 20-something, very young. He's got a very long life ahead of him. Whether he moves clubs or stays with Chelsea, for Germany will have a big impact, and I think taking that away from him will be horrible.
Yeah.
Shit. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I think it was Alexander Sefton who came out today and said, UEFA will ban these players who take part from competing in Euros and the World Cup. Euros just around the corner, obviously, as well, a lot closer. World Cup in December, and I think we'll come on to that later. But UEFA have come out strongly and said we are definitely against this, not for the fans, but of course for the money reasons. But UEFA obviously came out and said they've almost secured this new Champions League format coming in 2024. So it's 36 teams instead of 32. It's sort of one league sort of format rather than group stages like we've seen in the last however many years, a long time. The top 8 teams reach a knockout stage. Other teams qualify through new round of playoffs, and every club is guaranteed at least 10 games of competition, whereas right now there's only 6 in the group stages, so it basically just gives them more money, which again we'll come on to. I think the Prem haven't really said anything about it yet. Just I think FA might have said a couple of lines here and there, but the La Liga have put out a statement which was quite open, to be fair. They said they have a 90-year history, millions of fans around the world follow, 1.4% of GDP and employment, which is what La Liga gets their sort of country and their government, which is quite a lot, obviously. And then, it doesn't sound like, and then it employs almost 200,000 people as well. So, they've shown that affects a lot of people. But it says the the breakaway league runs the rest of the Spanish sports, to which in the current season La Liga will contribute more than 126 million euros as part of this agreement. So I think that's another thing why these clubs are sort of leaving. If La Liga is contributing to 106 mil for other sports in the country, I think these clubs, so there's a Barca, Real, and Atletico, will see, okay, that's more money we can save. We're not trying to give it to other parts of the country. And, La Liga were quite open saying, it's just going to destroy the football's ecosystem. It's just not going to work. And they don't really sugarcoat anything. They said it will affect us both financially and so it will affect the fans as well, basically. So, they've been very open about it and saying what they feel. Serie A clubs are going to meet today, I believe, or they met today. I'm not sure if the meeting happened or not, but they've had their meeting, obviously without the clubs who are involved in this invited. The Prem will be doing the same tomorrow morning, I believe. Then, so I'm looking at it now. The meeting was over, and Juve, Inter, and AC Milan all said they still intend to play in Serie A, despite being part of the Super League. And then that's all brought us to where we are now. Klopp doing his interview pre-game. We saw a couple of players, like Jack said, have come out and start talking. So Ander Herrera mentioned something earlier. We saw Bruno sort of repost what Daniel Podence said, about the Champions League and how important it is. But I think it's important now that we need. I think we also need to understand that it's not UEFA, FIFA, Premier League governments. They're not fighting for the fans. They're fighting for their own money as well, because that is what it is. There's no sort of. It's not like they're the good people and the Super League is the bad people. Super League's the worst option for us, but FIFA, UEFA for just the lesser evil, if that makes sense. And I think the key example of that is just the World Cup in Qatar. I think PSG will come out that's the reason PSG aren't joining the to have Qatari owners, so they don't want to jeopardize the World Cup happening in Qatar in like a year and a half's time. So they've opted not to join this just yet, just to not piss them off. But we've seen UEFA, this new format that they've introduced is to bring in more money, of course. I think no one's exactly upset with this current Champions League format. If if I ask you guys, I mean, what do you guys think of this new format that's been introduced, this sort of one league system?
I don't mind, to be honest. We all know another Champions League the way it is. Sometimes you got to change it. An extra 4 teams, you might have to play an extra 4 games a season, but why not? You're playing more Champions League football, better competition. I don't see why not, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know what you lot think.
Yeah, I agree. To be fair, changing Champions League's not that bad. But yeah, go on, Jay.
I don't really like it. I just think it could be done in such a weird way where, let's say Real Madrid or that didn't join it, but let's say Real Madrid come up against like Slavia Prague and RB Leipzig and stuff like that, and they have 6 out of the 10, they're really easy teams, yeah, and they face 4 teams, but because they've won and they win one of the top 4, they're now through to the next round, but they haven't really earned it, and I don't feel like it's actual earn. Whereas you might get someone who, like Leipzig, for instance, they get like 9 really good teams and they get knocked out. I just feel like they're gonna have to do it in such a way that it has to come away fair, and it's just, I don't know. I don't understand why everyone has to change everything. I understand it's the money and everything, but I don't like the Champions League doesn't need to be expanded or anything. I don't. It's just all money. The whole thing is just the money. They want more money, don't they? So
yeah, I would have kept it the same. I just don't see why you need to change it. Well,
yeah, I mean, I think they've changed it already. Like early 2000s, they changed it a bit because when you watch stuff like Premier League, years what highlights, there used to be different formats, different rounds of competitions. I think they changed it before, but I think it was also, some of us just not just taking shots, but football fans really want change in the game, whether it's good or not, because we just don't want to see things being risked, even though it might eventually end up being good. And I think this could be one of them. It could be good, it could be bad. We have to wait and see, but it's not as drastic as the Super League. Tom, what do you think of it all so far? And are you disappointed as a Spurs fan that your club's taken part?
I find it all a bit confusing because it just came out of nowhere, to be honest. Especially since when there were plans of it, like there was a mention of it a couple of years ago, and I still do think, I feel like it won't happen, but now I'm starting to think about it. I feel like it is going to happen now because it seems like they're just not going to back down no matter what, the clubs, because of the money. I don't really like it, to be honest, but then there's another part of me that says it might not be the worst thing for teams like Tottenham and Arsenal, to be honest, but nah, I don't like it. I mean, it's just money. It's going to make the actual English league shit. We're going to be responsible for it. I mean, there might be some clubs rubbing their hands together thinking we could actually win the league now, but the money is going to drop. The money's going to drop. When you take the big 6 out, the money will drop heavily. And all the money is going to be put into the Super League anyway. So, I mean, it's something different, but I'm just so confused how it's all come together, to be honest. Like I said, the only positive out of this that I can take, if it does happen, is that maybe this means we keep hold of Kane, because technically we're in the Champions League again and we didn't even fucking deserve it. Like, I don't know how Tottenham and Arsenal, I mean, it just shows you that they go off of like club stature, because the Arsenal and Tottenham do not deserve to be in that bracket right now. So, but yeah, that's the only positive I think from it. from a Tottenham or Arsenal point of view.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's really been announced by the Prem. We don't know if they'll allow the clubs to continue playing in the league or whether they're going to demote them, or, I think there's been talks that the clubs will be put in the 5th tier, but, nothing's been confirmed yet. So it's going to be a tricky one to solve. But I think the issue financially is for, say, we'll use the English leagues as an example, because obviously it's the one we know the best, it's the one that we probably find easier to explain. So say if the Super League happens, the Super League effectively means the Champions League is useless. It just ruins the whole point of it, especially these 12, 15 clubs, or eventually 20 clubs aren't in it. So if you take the Champions League away, there's nothing to fight for in the league. Assuming that, say the Big Six in the league, there's nothing to fight for because they won't care about the league because the Super League will bring more money, so they just won't care about winning it. Say if Leicester or West Ham win the league, they don't. If the Champions League still exists at that point, they won't be able to face the bigger teams that they would have hoped to face. So yeah, I think Leicester, when they won the Champions League last time, they faced Atletico Madrid. It was a big game at the time because they were still Atletico were still challenging for that Champions League. So it was a great game to watch, and that's why we want to see. We want our own club to qualify Champions League. It wouldn't be bad to see West Ham could just sort of go to, I don't know, Camp Nou and just take on Barcelona, because it would be such a good watch because they deserved it if they obviously get there. And it would be just something, from an English fan's perspective, it would be just something great to see. These players worked hard, they got Champions League, and they've earned their sort of right to play against the likes of Barcelona, against the likes of Messi. So it sort of takes away that aspect as well of the underdogs coming through, like the Ajax we saw a couple of years ago, and Porto themselves won the whole thing under Mourinho. It's that sort of thing that it takes away. But then, say if the Big Six do get banned from the Premier League, that's going to take away so much of the TV rights aspect as well. Even though clubs earn a lot from, say, season tickets and stuff, their main source of income is TV rights. Coming from the Premier League, from live games, that is their main source of income. So that's what they prioritize more. If you take away the Big Six in the Prem, that's going to take away potentially the fans of 6 clubs, the 6 biggest clubs, of probably buying, Sky Sports, BT Sports subscriptions. That's going to take away so much money away from not just Leicester, West Ham, who are already decent run clubs, but also the lower clubs in the league, like Sheffield United right now, Fulham, perhaps a Burnley or someone like who, rely a lot on this money. So that's going to take that away from them. And eventually, or even say if Sky Sports, BT Sport, I don't think they will, because BT have come out and said, they're against it. But say if they buy the TV rights for this, that's going to sort of add value to their product. They're going to charge even more for their thing, which makes it even worse for the fans who are still struggling from the COVID pandemic to financially to pay for what they already have. BT or Sky will charge even more if they do get the rights to do this. I'm not sure if they will, because there's been talks about perhaps say their own sort of TV streaming, just does it all, or whether they join up with like Zone, Disney, stuff like that. It hasn't been announced which are they going to stream it yet, but that could obviously happen. But if it affects the Prem financially, it's going to affect the lower leagues at like Championship, League One, League Two, and just the less and less people will be interested in the leagues, in the whole pyramid, and it's going to pretty much ruin it all, whether you keep the clubs or not. That is a problem because it's all financial. And we talked about UEFA there a bit. Their whole aim is to sort of keep financially stable. That's why they're doing this new format of the Champions League, trying to persuade the clubs, we are improving financially. So, just stay with us and just trust us, and we'll sort of bring you more money. That is the whole point of it. UEFA aren't the good guys in this. They're not, and neither are FIFA. They're not like completely innocent. We know how many migrant lives have been lost in the World Cup, the Qatar World Cup so far, just building the stadiums, building infrastructure there. We know that the Qatar World Cup in general is just corrupt. We just know that. We know, say, UEFA just not banning City for financial fair play last season. If they can't do that, how are they going to try to stop these guys from making their own league? If they can't stop Man City on their own, so it's just not going to work well for them. But Jay's, all of you guys, say if you guys are the players right now of the Big Six, what do you look to do even if the club has told you to stay silent, would you sort of look to like go against that and just make your point heard, because it is such a big point in football?
I think you've just got to, as a player, you've got to be professional about it, of course, because you play for a club and you represent that club and yourself, and everything always comes back to a player when they do stuff. But I mean, if you're a player like Bruno Fernandes as well, I just feel like you need to give like a slight opinion on it, because, like I said earlier, it's gonna change their careers. Like if UEFA turn around and said, we're going to ban you from everything, and we're going to ban you from going to the Euros, the World Cup, that's like dreams that people have had since they were young. I know, like, if I was a football player, it'd be like a massive dream for me to play in the World Cup, and I'm sure it's the same for all of them. And whether that's for like a Tunisia or a Germany, I just think that as a player, you kind of have to stand up to it. And because, like I was saying about like Foden and stuff, he's so young and he could go to his first Euros, which he more than likely is. But if he goes into this league and, Man City being his boyhood club, he's not going to want to leave Man City, but he's also going to want to play in the Euros for England, and he's stuck in that little bit of a stalemate. So I think if they are against it, I think they need to speak up, because the clubs will start to shit themselves as well. Because if players don't want to do it and stuff like that, I think they'll listen to the fans like a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're more of a business now than they are anything else. So they're going to go towards the money, whether the fans like it or not, because they do think that no matter what happens, you will always follow. But myself, if they do go into the Super League, I don't think I want to watch football anymore. I don't watch it massively anymore. I watch Chelsea and a couple of games, but I'm more busy. And if that is what's going to happen in the Super League, I'm just not interested in it. I'll just go to NBA or something else. And it'll be quite heartbreaking, but I don't want to watch a game that's just full of money. It's just boring.
Yeah. Well, go on.
I just want to go. So talk about, they've literally taken the competitiveness out of football now. If they go into this, they're going to be taken out of a league where you're trying to win it, qualify for the Champions League. Some lower teams qualify for the Europa League. Some teams trying to qualify to stay in the league, not get relegated. So you're going to go into this league where you're going to play the biggest teams around the world. For what? You don't get relegated in this. What would you do? Just money.
Exactly,
you get to win this Super League. You can't get relegated. You don't lose anything, do you? You're just playing crappy games that mean nothing. You're not aiming to win a trophy. You're not aiming to not get relegated. You're not aiming to reach something else, because that's the top of it. It's not like if you win it, you get to go to something better.
Well, do you not get a trophy for it?
Well, but what's the point in getting But
you get
then you're fine. Yeah, it's so competitive. You're playing against clubs that are just there for the money. The games are going to be so boring.
Yeah, I think.
But they're going to be like friendly level.
Exactly, and if anything, the only club this would have made sense for is PSG, because this season the league is a bit closer.
Yeah.
They normally sort of run away with it. I think United 8 points of City is not like a complete massive total, but like Liverpool last year, but it's still fairly close. It's not like these big 6 teams of England or the top 6 from England are sort of running away with it. Arsenal drew 1-1 to Fulham yesterday. United lost to Sheffield United this season, one of the worst clubs of Premier League history that I've seen. Chelsea got lost 5-3 to West Brom. It's not like I'm trying not to laugh, but it is quite funny. But it's not like we're completely clear of all these other clubs, so it doesn't make sense on that aspect. And I think another, one of the beauties of Champions League is you do see the big clubs play each other. But what makes it so good is that happens on a more rarer occasion. It happens once or twice a year. If you see it week in, week out, it's just going to become numb to you. It's going to become boring. Like Jack said, it's going to be friendly because, they're all just going to have these defensive tactics that's going to bore you. They're not going to play exciting football all of a sudden because they're still going to want to win games. And when you play against bigger teams, you're a bit more apprehensive in the way you play, a bit more worried, so you just defend a lot more. It's just going to be boring. It's going to be like teams trying to grind out like 1-0 wins, 2-1 wins. It's not going to be anything interesting. Whereas, say, Arsenal is a perfect example. Arsenal could still get high up the table, was not fighting for anything, but Fulham was still fighting for safety. That's what made the game so good. Fulham wanted something from that game. They needed something from that game, so it made it interesting. Say if Bayern are top of the table not Bayern, sorry, Real are top of the table in the Super League, and Arsenal are like what, 19th, 20th. They can't get relegated, so what's their incentive for them to perform well? You know, so that's what I just don't really understand from it. But Ty, say if you're a player right now, do you choose club or country?
I mean, if clubs are getting all this money, I'm asking for a bigger contract personally, but
Yeah.
but it depends, because I mean, if it was me, I'd pick my country personally, but players these days, it's all about money, isn't it? Like, obviously, if you're being offered like 300k a week, you're obviously going to pick your club. You know, you got to think about your family and everything else. But I mean, I'm more like, I'd expect senior players to come out and say something more than young players, because obviously, if you're a young player and you've just broke in, like, you don't want to come out and say something and then you find yourself just not playing or something. Like, if you're say the captain or something, yeah. So if like, I don't know, if Aspilicueta came out and said something, then, you know, I expected someone to come out and say something. But obviously, the only one that's really done it is Bruno, and you know, fair enough. But if it was me, I probably would pick my country, because yeah, it's all just stupid, really. It's just so dumb.
The country is a selection as well. It's not granted as well. It's like,
yeah,
for a club,
Luxury.
anyone can play for a club. If you get selected for England, Germany, France, you are selected out of, let's say, 23 people that all represent that nation around the whole entire world, and you are in that 23. That you want to be. I'd rather be selected to represent my country than thrown into some Super League for my club and not be able to have that chance.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me. But Liverpool, they're winning 1-0 against Leeds right now. But if you think about it, they might be close to top 4. But what does that actually mean for them now if they're going to take on the Super League?
Nothing.
You know,
exactly.
these remaining Premier League
They ain't
games.
even gonna have a manager.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think Klopp is going to stay. But
No,
you know,
he's gonna leave.
Yeah, what do these Premier League games then mean for the rest of the season if they're basically useless? You know, what are the players' incentives now if they do stay? You know, what are they going to play for? They're in the Super League already to all these clubs, and then Leicester and West Ham. You know, what are they actually fighting for if the Champions League's barely going to be there?
It's the same with like Norwich as well. I think you think about how happy Norwich were the other day that they've been promoted, but now they're probably looking at it as like, oh, we've been promoted. Like, that's great, Premier League, more money, more competition, but it's not. They're not going to be facing no Chelsea's. They're going to be facing no Man United's, Arsenal. Like, they're not going to come up against teams where they actually are like scared to lose and they change their tactics. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to be like a more advanced fucking championship. It makes no sense.
Yeah, right. Right. So just continuing from that. So I think I see on Twitter now, Sevilla have said they're not joining the Super League. They said they're not interested. They said they're part of the club, and they just say they're the Super League. So yeah, fair enough to them. You know, you talk about their players. They have to choose to cover country now. It's obviously a difficult decision. I think, like Jay, I think Foden is the perfect example there because, you know, he is from that area. You know, he's come through the Man City ranks. So to have to choose to either leave the club you played for pretty much most of your life or play for your country is not some easy decision that someone, say like a foreign player, could have made. And, you know, it's just not a great situation for them to be in. But Tom, I'll come to you. What do you do now if you are Leicester, if you are West Ham? You know, they've got this meeting tomorrow. They're deciding what's going to happen. You know, do they just have to push the Premier League and the FA to make the harshest decision possible? Do you think possible?
Yeah, possibly. I'm not really sure, to be honest, because especially with West Ham, they've I don't think they've ever felt like this before. Like, they've got a real chance, and like you said earlier, it's not going to mean something if this really goes ahead. Like, it really isn't. It's going to be a real kick in the balls for them, to be honest. They're going to money. The Champions League's are not going to be the same. I don't know what they do or the FA does. I mean, the FA have to stop it somehow. To be honest, right, I don't think it's going to happen because, and the reason I think that is because I know the money talks and everything, and then it's all a business. So I agree with that. But when football is fans, it's as simple as that. Football is about fans. I was expecting quite a big backlash from the fans, but I never knew how much of a backlash it would be. I always thought that majority of people would get against it, but I think that's even exceeded my expectations. Like a lot more people than I thought, like just do not want it. They're calling their club a disgrace. I can't see it happening, to be honest. So I don't think the other clubs should worry because honestly, I don't think it will happen.
I think they should put something in place, like if they do go into it and then decide like 1 year later they don't want to. I think they should put it in place like they're not allowed back in them, like the leagues. Like they'll have to start in like League Two or whatever the equivalent is to every other country. I don't think they should be let off because if they do go into this, they lose all right of everything. And I mean, if you stick them back in League Two or whatever, if they do come back, I mean, they're gonna have to start straight from the bottom again. And I feel like if they say stuff like that and warn them, they won't take the risk or make the jump. But I think, if they don't do it, I feel like the FA are just going to reward them with shit. And I don't feel like that should be it because it makes no sense. Like if that was like a change for the Champions League or whatever, and you had to earn it to go into it, that would make sense. But just buying your way in just defeats everything. I don't understand why. Like Gary Neville said in it about Arsenal and like Juventus in the Champions League have been knocked out by Porto, Lyon, and I think it was like I don't even know who else by. But in the last 3 years, they've been knocked out by teams that
Ajax.
Yeah, they haven't been knocked out. They've been knocked out by teams that respectively shouldn't have beaten Juventus, but they've been beaten by them and they've been beaten convincingly over 2 legs. And I feel like in that instance there, why do Juventus deserve to be in there? What, because they've got Ronaldo or they've got Dybala? Like, it just doesn't make sense how these teams. Because if you did get every big team and stuff like that in second in one league and that was it, I don't think people would have a problem. But you've got teams like AC Milan, who've been disappeared for like 20 years, and now they've popped
They're
up.
a big club, though.
No, I know, but they've popped up one in the Europa League and they've been knocked out. So they're not that fucking great. But it's just like it's
but
just
it's a big club.
I know.
Whoever set this all up is smart because they've got all the big clubs who have the biggest following. AC Milan are massive. And if they've got the biggest following, they generate the more money and they get more money for their idea. That's what it is.
Literally.
This whole thing, the clubs ain't just a business. This whole scheme is a business setup.
They're just trying to make it American. It's like they're trying to make it into like an American thing. It's like the Americans love to throw like leagues in there and there and there. But it's all money. It's sad because it shouldn't be like that. Because like when Leicester won it, no one was angry that Leicester won it, like at all. And then Leicester got so much money from it and was able to buy like decent players and stuff and to be able to compete. And like we said about the Atletico Madrid match, like that was football at its best because you've got a team that nearly got relegated the year before that had just then the next year go and win the Premier League and then they're in the Champions League.
They earned it. They earned it.
Yeah. It's a proper, like, it's like West Ham. Regardless if they get into the top 4, they'll probably be in like the Europa League or something.
Yeah.
And that'll be earned. And you'll look at like West Ham and you'll be like, oh, they're actually playing decent football. They should be all right in the Europa League. And I don't know. It's just stupid. I don't get how
football was leading towards this.
Yeah,
it was always leading towards this because if we look back a couple of years ago, like I don't know, 2014, we started to see like the sale of Gareth Bale. Right, it was the biggest money sale going. Then we had Neymar, and then we were debating about why is there so much money in football? Should there be so much money in football? And you thought, can it get any worse? Well, this is it. This just shows you it will go from this. If we do go from it, there'll be something else within another 20 years. That'll be even more money because it just keeps building up the money and money. It's not just the players now. It's the actual setup of football as well. It's just football just keeps building and generating more and more money each year, and they're just going to think of even more ways to build more money out of it.
Yeah, and I think you and Jay both make good points that I'll sort of go on. You said that in 20 years' time there'll probably be something else, but 1992, that is what happened. Premier League was formed, and that was what it was. The league was reduced to 20 teams. I think it was 22 or 24 before. I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
that's what happened, and that's what made Sky Sports as well. Sky Sports wasn't that big before 1992. If you look back at it, Sky had this partnership with the Premier League and sort of brought them both up financially as well. That was the whole big thing. So, we obviously weren't alive in 1992, so we don't know what it was like at the time, what fans were at the time. There was no social media at the time, so there wouldn't have been a platform for everyone to sort of say their opinions on it like that. So it might have been the exact same, and it sort of worked out a bit. There are also teams that suffer because of that, and it probably will happen again in the future. So that is something to remember as well. And like Jay said, a lot of American ownership or foreign ownership trying to do this, but England can't copy America because of the way you get to the level that the bigger teams are at. Because in America, you go through, what England say, you could have academies from like under 7s, under 6s from that young age, and you go through the ranks. In America, you have to go through the school system and you go to high school. So NBA is the best example of it. You go through high school level basketball to college level basketball, and if you're good enough, you get drafted into the NBA. That's how it works. There's no academy level stuff there. In the MLS, if you want a team, you just buy one there and you just create it. And there's not that many league systems. Like in England, it's like 10 tiers. In America, it's like 2 or 3, so it's not that difficult to do it.
It's like America as well. Like in Los Angeles, like in American football, there was one Los Angeles team. I think there's like 4 now. And that's all because someone's gone, oh, I like that sport. Let me just buy like a little bit of ownership or let me make a stadium. It's just people with money, people that have a lot of money that have just decided, I'm going to make this team, or I'm going to make that money, or, for like people like Roman Abramovich, I don't think he'll go ahead with it just because himself, he's got so much money. I feel like he just uses the club as like as a fan in a way, because it's like he has more. Because I always remember like Alan Sugar when he was in charge of Tottenham. I always remember him saying, "You never make money from football. Like unless you win everything, you never win. You never really make any money from football." So like let's say Roman Abramovich goes out and spends 200 mil after Chelsea finished like, I don't know, like 4th or something. Yeah, in that year he's not really made more than he's probably spent. And to him, he's got so much money. It's probably just a hobby. But like this thing, I think what teams are doing, and they're looking at this and they don't want to not be a part of this new thing, because if they turn it down, they're more likely not going to get asked again at another point. And I feel like they're all like, oh, there's like loads of money in it. Like you said, like the 3.5 million or billion, or whatever it was, them getting that's a lot of money put straight into the club for just being there. The Premier League or the Liga will never give to any of the clubs because it's they need to be fair to everyone.
That's what's been said as well. Like it's even said apparently Chelsea and Man City, they were like backed into a corner. They didn't really want to do it, but then they did because they were scared of like falling behind and all that. So it's just
it's a trend. It's just a trend. It's like, oh look, Real Madrid, Barcelona, the Juventus and all that. Look, they're all in that. Oh, well, why aren't you in that? Well, oh, I don't know why I'm not in that. Oh, I need to be in that.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Like, I think if enough teams drop out, I don't think it'll go ahead because I don't think they have the grounds for it. If 5 teams drop out, they leave 7 teams. I don't think they'll start this league or anything with 7 teams. I think it's just going to need like 4 or 5 teams to turn around and be like, I don't really want to do this. And I do think like Chelsea and Man City, who Man City have really only got fans recently, with like or more loyal fans or overseas fans. It's like, they make money off that. If someone turns around and they say, oh, we're going to do this, and then the fans that are actually always turned up to the game turn around and be like, all right, fuck that, I'm not going anymore. I don't think they'll go ahead with it. But I'm just hoping that all the big 6 in the Premier League just turn around and don't jeopardise winning at least 4 titles a year for one wanky title. It doesn't make sense.
It would make sense if Chelsea and City sort of backed out of it, because they're financially solid right now in terms of spending it. But
Yeah.
Arsenal, Spurs, United, I think Liverpool, maybe perhaps not as much. They'd be desperate to get this money and sort of catch up with City and Chelsea and get to the same level as them, because we're not on there right now. I think we'll be desperate to that.
It just builds this thing. So let's say like Man United and Man City did like split off. Let's say they one stayed in the Premier League, one went. They'll never like play again against each other again. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just lose that competitiveness, like Tom said. It's like you just lose that
Still have the London derby though.
Oh, fucking
Best derby in the world.
It's the most boring game. It's just two shit teams playing each other.
It's literally the best fucking derby in the league. Oh,
it probably is. Not gonna lie.
It's either that or
derby
Tottenham
so
Chelsea.
shit.
So you choose Tottenham Arsenal or Tottenham Chelsea.
Because the
Man United Liverpool's better than Tottenham Chelsea.
No, it's not.
No,
Yeah,
way.
it is.
Tottenham
Not recently.
Chelsea has been built up.
Just because you players have a few fucking pushies around in the pitch.
That's a derby.
Yeah, they tried to
Just before, because fucking Danny Rose wants to stamp on someone, bro.
Yeah, he wouldn't
That was a
beat
good
William,
scrap.
innit?
That was a good scrap.
That was a pot run on the pitch as well.
Right.
Right, how are we going to this then? Right, okay.
But I think it's kind of up with early. I think we saw, Inter Miami have come into football recently in the last couple of years. Dave Beckham just bought an MLS team and created out of nothing. You can't do that in England. I think that was the point. But Jack, UEFA have, really been angry at this. Seffer's come out. He's called a lot of people snakes, which is fair enough because, the Juve chairman was very high up in the UEFA rankings, and now he's high up in the Super League one. So the Super League have come out and said they want UEFA and FIFA to eventually join them in this adventure. And personally, I feel like if once UEFA and FIFA realize how much money they're losing and how much the Super League are gaining, they'll eventually look at, that's the main priority. Let's do that as well. Let's join in. That's what I think eventually will happen. But right now, they are, very heavy on looking to punish them. Stefan did say they will do it all legally. They won't do anything that they can't do. But just how hard do you think they will go? Do you think they'll go as much as banning them from Champions League and domestic leagues?
It's hard to say so early on, but like you said earlier on in the show, but even though we don't want the Super League to happen, UEFA and the FA, they're not amazing. Like you said, they'll see. They'll see their bank account. I've lost 200 to 500 million. They'll look over the shoulder. Look at the Super League. They've just gained 750 million.
Yeah, they'll jump to it.
I want to be on that. Give them a call. Can I join?
It's like what you just said about the teams.
Yeah, literally. So it's.
I don't think they'll actually ban them. I think the Super League will go ahead, and I don't think that they'll ban them, and it will just be like a little side competition. I don't think they can afford to do that. I think it's just them being angry and threatening to try and stop it because, like you said, the money is going elsewhere. But I don't think that we'll get kicked out of the Premier League and everything. I genuinely think that they'll have to play more. They'll play more games. But they've got the money for it, haven't they? They can get better teams and they can get depth and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just can't see UEFA kicking teams out because they lose all their money. As soon as they lose their team, the money goes.
If they join, they're going to lose so much viewership. So many fans are going to boycott they're not going to watch any game.
The reason that people are angry is because they're jeopardising the Premier League and the FA Cup. But if UEFA turned around and was like, no, you can stay there, the fans will stay, and it will be a massive thing. It's just UEFA have come out and they've gone, oh no, I don't want this, I don't want that, and that's understandable because it, like you said, it's their bank accounts. They don't really care about us.
But whether or not the Premier League stays, I'm not watching that Super League shit.
I am.
Yeah,
it's going to be fucking shit.
But the thing is, you would if you were in like the Premier League and you were still fighting for that. And
I still wouldn't watch that.
Jay, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I'll only watch when we play the big six teams. That's the only time I'm watching.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Say the Super League happens and the teams do stay in the Premier at the same time. The main thing is, if the Super League happens, the Champions League is irrelevant. So what are you fighting for in the Prem? The teams will prioritize the Super League over the Premier League. The Premier League won't be a good watch. People will stop watching that. People, fans are saying right now they will stop watching the Super League as well. That's the issue. Whatever happens, the Prem will be jeopardized with the teams in it or not, because the Champions League is jeopardized. And that's what, say this season, like 7 to 8 teams that are like fighting for their Champions League spot, that's the whole point of it. But if the Champions get relevant next season, are they going to fight for it? What are they fighting for? It's just there's nothing. So that's the issue.
It's
like we were just saying, Joe. Yeah, say you were playing next season, Super League happens, but you're still in the Prem. You're playing apparently the biggest derby in the Prem against Chelsea. Against Tottenham, and then you lose. Oh no, bad for the next day. You lose 3 points, but say for some reason you do shit that season, you're near the bottom. Yeah, doesn't matter. You're still in the Super League.
Yeah.
Say you're near the top. You win that game. Oh, you just got 3 points. That moves us closer to the top. Top for what? You're not getting in the Champions League. You're already in the Super League. It just takes the competitiveness out of everything, because it's not going to be competitive in the Premier League, and it's not even going to be competitive in the Super Cup, because like we said, you can't get relegated from that. So it's just a bunch of shit.
Super League.
Shit.
I think that's just a good place to leave it there. But before we end, Tom, I will come to you. The other news today was Mourinho has been sacked. I think it could sort of see as good news for Tottenham fans, but it's been said that it's nothing to do with the Super League. It's just results are bad.
He's shit.
Yeah, I feel like that's absolute bollocks. I feel like they sort of said it at this time because they knew the Super League announcement would sort of have the main intention, so they sort of slipped the Mourinho thing under the carpet a little bit. Well, firstly, I know you got to be happy about it. So, I think Ryan Mason and Chris Powell were taking over. So I got 2 questions for you. What does it mean now? Do you think you'll have a sort of end of season bounce under them? And secondly, do you think it was stupid to do it before a cup final?
No, because I would have done it 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, yesterday, 5 weeks ago, a month ago.
Start of the season.
I mean, to be honest, I think it's a bit too fucking late, because honestly, I think they've done it because of the news that came out of Germany about Hansi Flick. They knew they're going to go for Nagelsmann. And I was just thinking, right, we've lost him. As soon as I saw it today, I said to Jack, oh my God, we might have a chance of getting Nagelsmann now. I'm not sure if we will, but at least now we're in the running, because we couldn't go in for him if we had a manager. Now we don't. So I hope Daniel Levy's on his fucking phone every minute of every day getting into Tottenham.
Well, he is on his phone, but to the Super League. Yeah.
I know, all right, the second call then. Yeah, we need to get him in. I honestly think that possibly, I mean, I think he's getting sacked anyway. I said that. I think he's getting sacked in the end of the season. I didn't think I'd do it midway because of that thing, but I think Daniel Levy had to make a big decision whether to just flog off the money and just go for Nagelsmann, because he knew he was under possibly threat. I'm not saying we're going to get him. I hope we get him. If we don't get him, I'd like Brendan Rodgers, but that just seems even harder to get a hold of, to be honest. Unless the Super League comes along, then I reckon it'd fucking bite the hand off Daniel Levy. He'd take it over Leicester if the Super League happens. But yeah, I'm happy, and I think I would say 95% of our fan base is happy that Mourinho has been sacked, because it just weren't the manager, too big of a job, too long term, and it was a big mistake getting him.
He just enforces Burnley in the top 6.
You what?
Like, he's basically just decided he's going to put Burnley in the top 6. Sit back.
Oh.
Thank you, Jack.
I didn't understand what you were saying, but he basically said that Tottenham are Burnley.
The top version of Burnley.
Yeah,
the joke's a bit too smart for us, unfortunately.
We actually win. You can fuck off.
Wait, Tom, do you think you should get like an interim manager for the last bit of the season? Or do you think you should stick with those 2 players?
No, I would have. I'm surprised Ledley King didn't get it, to be honest, but I'm happy for Ryan Mason to have it. I thought we were going to
give
lose
it to,
the
like,
final
say,
anyway.
Rafa Benitez?
Yes, I would.
Rafa Benitez for the end of the season.
Rafa Benitez?
Or someone just for like
know he's going to give him a permanent.
left.
No, because he'll.
Listen, Rafa's a sick manager, man.
Yeah, but he's
Rafa.
good for
nah.
about 1 to 2 seasons, and then
No, any
I'm just
manager
talking
that's
about
been
just-
at Chelsea, I don't want him. Or
Just an
Arsenal.
actual manager, just for the rest of the season. Try and win this final. Try and get.
No,
You might not, but you're still
No.
in and around Champions
used to get
League
Tim
spots.
Sherwood again. He was good.
yeah, you should get that bald guy again.
Who's it?
No, Di Matteo, yeah, get him.
Well, and then he's won his Champions League.
He
mate.
won a Champions League. You
A
know,
one-off game. What did he do the next season? Got sacked straight away. Go get him back. He'll win you the Champions League again.
yeah, he will.
You watch Mourinho go back to Chelsea for the third time.
No, he fucking won.
Or third time.
Hasn't he been there
I
3
don't
times
want
already?
He fucking.
No.
Yeah, twice.
No, twice.
Oh,
Yeah, so we on that, Jack. Shut up.
we've been there 3 times.
He was there for
Shut
3
up.
years both times.
Oh,
It's either that or he's going back to Man United. So, oh no, he's Arsenal. He's going to
he will
Arsenal.
Oh,
not.
He's
He's
going all
Arsenal's
the way around
turn.
England.
Arsenal's turn.
No, Palace.
Nah, Klopp's going to go West Ham, and then
He'll come Tottenham.
who Klopp?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because we're going to get kicked out because we're not a big enough club, and then we'll go in the Prem. And we still bottle it, but
You won't be able to win the.
I mean, we would, Jay.
You
No,
would.
you lose it. Leicester would beat you to it again.
No.
Leicester-
Yeah, at
Leicester-
the moment
Leicester,
now.
West Ham, Tottenham.
I mean, if you're just going off of this season, we're talking about in 2 years' time, man.
Jesse Lingard or Millie Rock on as he scores.
Chelsea are into the FA
He's,
Cup
he's
final.
Man United. He's a Man
Yeah,
United.
see, there was actually so much to
They'll
talk
end up
about.
They'll
But,
end up
There
There
is.
was.
yeah, I mean,
It's a story.
what I mean, we still all talk about Europa League a bit as well. But Jay, Ty, FA Cup's final doesn't really mean much right now.
Yeah,
I
fuck the
guess,
FA Cup,
but,
honestly.
it's the greatest
Last chance to win
trophy.
it.
It's the greatest trophy of all time. I don't know what I was talking
You know
about
what,
personally,
yeah?
but
Yeah,
My only
what?
problem is last year we got to the FA Cup final. I was almost 100% sure we'd win, and we fucking lost to you. So I don't know
You'll
what
win it
to
this
think,
year.
because Leicester aren't shit.
No,
So
we'll
I
beat
don't know.
Leicester.
I'm just
Let's
gonna,
say
I'm
that.
just gonna, I'm just gonna be silent up until it happens.
They're looking good. Chelsea are looking good.
Brendan
Chelsea
Rodgers,
looks good.
man. Serial bottler.
Yeah, but finals are different things. It's one game. It's not.
Ooh,
we'll beat
You
them.
can be good the whole entire time. This is how I see it. Yeah, and I'm not having it out of you, Tom. But Tottenham done really well in the Champions League up until the final, and then it was the most
Why you
boring
bring that
fucking.
up?
Yeah, but Jay, we're not
Jay,
playing.
you'll win.
Jay,
They,
you're
they
not
played.
Tottenham.
They played Liverpool in their prime. Like we're playing
Jay,
against
you're
Leicester.
playing good.
They don't know what it's like.
Fuck you.
They don't know what it's
I was,
like.
I was
Yeah.
critical, too cool, but you're playing good now.
Yeah, man. We played in the FA Cup final last year, and obviously we lost. So I think the players are going to win it more.
Yeah.
And honestly, the City performance, you guys really deserved to win that. 1-0 was a bit unfair. I think it should have been a bit more. It was honestly such a good performance. I
Yeah.
saw. So, yeah, fair enough. Europa League, Jack, win the semi-finals. Unfortunately, it might not mean much in a couple of days' time. I'm going to have to stop my Thursday day, my Europa League song post, unfortunately, on Twitter. But,
Pedro.
not sure that's the right wording, Jay, but
Sorry.
The strong fucking hell.
Shut up, Jack.
You have to bleep that out, Joe.
yeah. No one's going to make it this one video. Come on.
So, I mean, hopefully it goes ahead because we might actually see Ollie win a semi-final for us. But I'm confident. I feel like we can comfortably beat them over 2 legs and then see if we get Villarreal or Arsenal in the final.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
It's
Unai.
gonna be a repeat.
I
It's
love
gonna
the
be a
Europa League, man. I honestly love it. I was excited to, all right, Tom. I was excited to play Emery the next round. Even if we did lose, it would be such for neutrals. Emery against Arteta. That's what everyone wants to see.
Oh,
I
if
might
we
watch
lose,
that
that'll
instead of
just
my
be
game.
Arteta leaves, we're going to get actually rinsed.
banter.
And if we win, Arsenal fans will know, like, oh yeah, we'll have a bit of cockiness about us, they were 9th. So it's just going to be a good game. And on Thursday night, I was really proud of the club for how Laxer in particular stood up. They lined up, and he went right to the halfway line, stared at them in the eye before the game. It was a great performance. The players looked like they wanted to do it not just for the club, but to stop Slavia Prague from getting through for Glenn Kamara, whoever. And it was good man to be an Arsenal fan because of that. And then to follow it up with what we're doing now in the Super League, I mean, I think someone said on Twitter yesterday, Arsenal, we talked about a lot last summer when we made 55 staff members redundant. Not sure why we've done that if we're going to get 3.6 billion now, but this shows maybe what the club really is, and maybe what we did last Thursday was more the players and the managers doing rather than the club itself. So, it's not a good time for anyone in the top 6. The other 14 Prem teams will be proud of themselves. They're still going to be worried if it does go through, if it's going to affect them so much. But it's still early days. It's barely been 24 hours since it all really kicked off, the announcement. So a lot can change. A lot of stars have been announced. I think by next week we will know a lot more as well. A lot more will be confirmed. So it's got to be wait and be patient and just hope it doesn't completely collapse, as in like the Premier League collapse and the Super League sort of does. But whether it happens or not, from a PR perspective, the clubs have suffered a lot. They probably already have lost a lot of fans. I don't want to say, I'm going to completely stop supporting Arsenal, because I feel like that's might be a bit too far in terms of if it doesn't happen. And, if it does happen, I probably will. But if it doesn't, I won't forget what they tried doing, if that makes sense. When we win, if we win something, it just won't be as sweet as if, say if we win the Europa League. I know it's a big ask right now, but say if we win and the Super League doesn't go through, I just don't feel like it would be as good as a victory it would have been if this all didn't happen and we just won it, based on merit, and it didn't happen. So it's a bit disappointing right now. I think the football world's a bit depressed, a bit angry. I think Gary Neville is just the perfect example of how angry he is. He seems to have some Arsenal and Tottenham agenda. I know we're really shit, but it's not like United exactly the fucking best team in the world right now.
What did he say?
He said today he'd rather watch the champions of San Marino's league rather than Arsenal and Tottenham.
Yeah, but we don't have Mourinho football no more, so I don't know why you changed it. We've got Ryan Mason.
Yeah, I mean,
fucking bad in his fucking manager. Will he ever win?
Yeah, well, I think you just got to be patient and just hope it all works itself out. But yeah, thank you four for coming on. It's been a hefty episode. So for the 10 of you, if any of you made it this far, thank you for watching. And yeah, have a nice.
Before I think it's time to talk.